I give you the floor on the UConn men's basketball program and your 2 cents on them, Jay.
It's remarkable. To win back-to-back is one thing, and there are very precious few teams that have ever done that. Florida being the last in 06, 07, and before that it was in the early 90s with Duke in 91 and 92. But the way they did it, it's the first in a long time that they've done it essentially with 2 different teams, because this team is substantially different from last year's team at UConn. And then the fact that they've gone 12 straight NCAA tournament games, winning by double digits. Nobody's ever done that. Not the UCLA teams of Wooden, not the great Duke teams of the early 90s, not the Florida teams, not the dominant Georgetown teams. Nobody's done it. And in an era where we are throwing around the word parity, and I think there is talent spread across the country more than ever, in large part due to NIL and the transfer portal. But UConn has been the most dominant. And one last thing on this, Rich, there was some talk last year about, is UConn now among the blue bloods? And since 1999, this is 6 titles. Nobody's come close to that. And if you go to 1960, take it back, 50, 60 years, half of Kentucky's titles were won before 1960. They won a couple in the 40s and a couple in the 50s. And even if you go back 50 years, UConn's won as much or more than any program in college basketball history. They're not only a blue blood, you can make an argument now they're the best program that we've seen since UCLA in the 60s and 70s. It's them and UCLA.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of find it laughable. And again, it's not my bank account that Dan Hurley's got his P's and Q's on that, but it's laughable. They're saying, do you want to go to Kentucky? Like is this a stepping stone, or UConn is the spot? I mean, Gino Auriemma is going to the Hall of Fame, or I think he's probably already in it, from UConn. Why not Dan Hurley? I don't understand that concept.
Well, I mean, I agree with you on the basketball front that there's no better place for Dan Hurley, especially given his background, where he's from, the footprint that UConn has in the Northeast and how they can recruit. The only thing I would say that makes a place like Kentucky a thought for someone like Dan Hurley, or for Dan Hurley specifically, is the changing nature of the basketball landscape and the college sports landscape. That things are evolving to the point where if you're not in a Power 5 league, you can be compromised in the future. That this is still about resources and money. And now that the players are sitting at the table, they're sitting at the kids' table now. They're allowed to make something, but they're not realizing their full value. They will soon. And when they do, those resources are going to be important. And there's a thought that college sports may contract a little bit, and the big shots will play amongst themselves, and then everybody else is going to feel like it won't be like this, but it'll feel like it's more of a Division II feel. And so that would be the only reason you would look at that. But I don't think Dan Hurley's going anywhere, because that fits him really well. And I do think the Northeast connection is really important. His brother Bobby is out here in Arizona at Arizona State, and he's done well, but it's not necessarily who he is. And so I think Dan Hurley recognizes that. And look, he's at the top of the game and at the top of his game. So he's going to be fine. Like he'll get taken care of. But is it going to be enough program wise and money wise for players and things like that? And is it going to be that way for the long term? That's the only reason to consider a place like Kentucky.
Jay Bilas here on the Rich Eisen Show. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.